After my in-laws had been staying with us for 8 months, I asked them when they planned to move out. My wife replied, "They're staying. If that's a problem, maybe you should be the one to leave." Her brother came down the stairs and said, "It's about time." That same night, I packed a bag and left. But before I did, I opened the safe in the closet. They didn't know I had reinstalled it. I never imagined my marriage would fall apart over something as simple as asking for a little space in my own home. But I guess it always starts like that, small cracks. Then you realize everything was broken inside. My name is Andres. I'm 39 years old. I've lived almost my entire adult life in Valencia, a quiet city, good neighbors, clean streets. I bought my house when I was 30. Years of construction work, odd jobs, saving every euro I could. The house wasn't anything special, about 130 square meters, 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, but it was mine. Paid in full. No debt. No roommates. I lived a simple life, paid the bills on time, fixed what broke. The lawn was mowed, the roof in good condition. And then I met Clara. She was beautiful, I'm not going to lie. And smart too, or so I thought. She worked in human resources at a dental clinic. We met at a friend's barbecue in Torrent. She laughed at my bad jokes, liked my silly culinary skills, and said she admired a man who could build a house with his own hands. We dated for a year and a half before we got married. She moved in with me, and for a while, everything was good. We kept separate bank accounts. She offered to help with groceries and bills. I didn't mind covering the mortgage, I'd already been doing it. The place started to feel like ours. We painted the bedroom, changed the rugs. She brought some life into the house. And then, last year, her mother lost her job. It all started like any other Tuesday. Clara came home early, looking worried. "My mom lost her job," she said. "She can't pay rent next month." I nodded. "That's rough. What's she going to do?" Clara hesitated. "She could stay with us for a while. Just until she finds something. 2 months, tops." I didn't love the idea. I like my space. I like the quiet. But I understood. Family helps family. So I said, okay. Her mother moved in that same weekend. She brought more stuff than I expected. 5 boxes, a huge suitcase, and her cat. I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to be nice. I made room for her in the guest room, put a towel in the bathroom, even added her to the Wi-Fi. By week 3, she was still sleeping late, watching soap operas, and not looking for work. I asked Clara about it. "She's stressed," she said. "Give her time." And then Ruben showed up, her younger brother, 26 years old. He dropped out of college and was always chasing some half-baked dream. Last I heard, he was managing a local rapper. And suddenly, there he was on my couch with a duffel bag and a can of Red Bull. "Just a couple of nights," Clara said. "He has nowhere else to go." That couple of nights turned into 8 months. He took over the basement. Said he needed space for his studio. That meant cables everywhere, speakers thumping at 2 a.m., and a weird smell coming through the vents. He ate my food, used my soap, left his shoes in the hallway. Meanwhile, his mother treated the guest room like her private kingdom. Filled the kitchen with her vegan diet products, constantly commented on how I folded laundry wrong and left hairs all over the soap. I asked Clara several times when they planned to leave. "They're looking," she'd say. "It's tough right now." Tough. A cheap excuse. Ruben hadn't filled out a single job application. His mother spent more time on Facebook than a teenager. I was keeping track. Checked the electricity bill. It had doubled. Grocery expenses tripled. I was supporting 4 adults on a single salary, and not one of them, not a single one, offered to contribute anything. One Friday night, after Ruben drank the last of my beer and left the fridge door open again, I lost it. We were sitting in the living room. His mother was upstairs doing yoga or something. Ruben was in the basement, looping the same beat for the 3rd hour straight. I turned to Clara. When are they leaving? She looked up from her phone. Who? Your family. They've been here for 8 months. They don't pay rent, they don't clean, they don't help. When are they leaving? Her expression changed, cold, like someone had flipped a switch. They're staying, she said. I stared at her. For how long? As long as they need to. If that's a problem, she added, her eyes fixed on mine, maybe you should be the one to leave. I waited for the joke. It didn't come. Then Ruben came up the stairs, leaned on the railing, arms crossed. It's about time. As if they'd been waiting for me to break. As if they'd rehearsed it. I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was done. I stood up and went upstairs. Clara didn't follow. Ruben didn't say anything else. I grabbed a duffel bag, 2 shirts, some jeans, socks, toothbrush, my laptop, my keys, and I opened the closet. Clara never knew I had a hidden safe. When we renovated the master bedroom last year, we removed one of the walls, and I reinstalled it myself, right behind a loose board in the closet. She thought I had removed it. Inside were the deed to the house, in my name only, a USB drive with all my financial documents, including bank statements that showed how Clara had been siphoning money from our joint account into an account I didn't even know existed. Also, the prenuptial agreement she thought was a formality, but which I'd reviewed 6 months prior with my lawyer, Mr. Morales, and updated with her tacit consent via email. And finally, 10,000 euros in cash I'd stashed away as emergency money. She didn't know about that either. I took it all. I didn't slam the door. I didn't leave a note. I drove to a cheap hostel off the A7 and spent the night watching the snow pile up outside the window. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages I didn't read. She never thought I'd leave. But I did. And she had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, I woke up to 30 unread messages, all from Clara. Where are you? Can we talk? You're being dramatic. Come back. You left the garage door opener. Not one apology. No explanation. Not even a fake excuse pretending she was sorry. Just control. More of the same. I ignored her. Instead, I called my lawyer, Mr. Morales, a serious guy. He handled the closing on my house. Also helped me with the prenup. Are you ready to file? He asked. Yes, I replied. And I want them out of my house. Mr. Morales didn't waste time. By Monday, the paperwork was underway. Clara tried calling me again and again. When I didn't answer, she sent her mother after me. I got an email from Alicia saying I was being childish and abandoning my family responsibilities. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I let the documents speak for themselves. The house was mine. Clara's name was never on it. She never paid €1. The agreement was ironclad. She wasn't even entitled to alimony. I gave them a week to leave. 7 days. And that's when the real game began. On day 2, Ruben posted an Instagram story. A picture of him posing defiantly at the camera. Caption, Asta nunca. It was a mistake. What Ruben didn't know was that I still had remote access to the Nest cameras in the house, including the basement. I logged into the system and watched him laughing on the couch, trash-talking me, bragging about how he was king of the castle now. Then I saw him light something with a weird smell right next to the water heater. A fire hazard. I screen-recorded it and sent the video to my insurance agent and then to the police. Then I called Mr. Morales. On Friday, a court officer showed up at the house with a formal notice. They had 72 hours to leave or be legally evicted. Ruben filmed himself yelling at the officers and posted it online. Another mistake. That video was now public evidence of his behavior, and we presented it to the judge in the case. Meanwhile, I stayed silent. Quiet. Worked remotely from an extended stay hostel. Ate gas station sandwiches. Just waited. On day 6, Clara finally left me a voicemail. Different this time. Her voice was shaking. She wasn't angry. She was scared. Andres, please call me. I didn't know you were actually going to file. I thought you were just mad. Can we talk? Please. Too late. I wasn't mad. I was focused. Because what she didn't know was that there was more on that USB drive. Much more. Yes, Clara had been moving money from our joint account. I knew that already. But what I didn't expect to find was that she was also sending small transfers every few weeks to a man named Sergio Navarro. I didn't know who he was, so I looked him up. Instagram, private. But Twitter, public. Guess what he posted 2 months ago? A picture of my garden. Exactly my garden. Caption, back at my favorite hideaway. I stared at that post for a long time. Then I checked the call logs. She'd been calling him during lunch breaks, at night, once at 1:34 a.m. My hands were shaking. I sent the evidence to Mr. Morales. This changes everything, he said. And in a big way. I didn't tell Clara I knew. Not yet. Because now it wasn't just about the house. Now it was about the truth. And I wasn't finished. While I sat quietly in that hostel, putting all the pieces together, she kept trying to call me, as if it was all a misunderstanding. I didn't answer. I was working on something else. I have a friend named Oscar. We went to trade school together years ago. He now works in cybersecurity for a firm in Madrid. Good guy. Owed me a favor. So I called him. I need help retrieving phone backups and cloud data, I told him. He didn't ask questions. I gave him access to an old iCloud account we'd used when we shared an iPad. She never changed the password. In less than 2 hours, I had backups of her messages, photos, emails. Everything. And what I found turned my stomach. She'd been talking to Sergio Navarro for over a year. A whole year. It wasn't just harmless flirting. There were messages from the same day I was fixing the kitchen sink saying, "Wish you were here instead." There were pictures. Nothing explicit, but intimate enough. One was taken in our bed while I was away last October, working a roofing job in Zaragoza. And the worst part? She was mocking me. Screenshots of our conversations that she sent to him, with comments like, "He's being dramatic again. I swear I'll give him a piece of my mind if he ever leaves. Not going to cry." That was the same week I brought her flowers. On a Tuesday. Just because she said she was feeling down. It was all a lie. And then I saw something else. Sergio wasn't just some guy. He was her coworker. He worked in the IT department at her dental clinic. That's how they met. And I found an invitation on her calendar, buried among the emails. Title: Team Building Weekend. Val Conference. I remembered that trip. She told me it was mandatory. Just 2 days. She came back tired, said it was boring. Now I knew she'd spent 2 nights in a hotel suite with Sergio on the company dime. I called Mr. Morales again. "Can we include this in the divorce proceedings?" I asked. He paused. "If you have proof, and you do, we can allege misconduct and intent. It's going to change the outcome." I nodded. Do it. That weekend, I drove past the house. Stayed in the car, across the street. The lights were on. Ruben's car was gone. Finally, there was a moving truck parked in the driveway. They were leaving. And just as I was about to drive away, Clara walked out the front door. She didn't look like herself. Hair in a messy bun, sweatshirt, no makeup, pale, stressed. She stood there for a minute, looking out, like she was expecting me to be watching. Then she pulled out her phone. A few seconds later, I got the message. "We're leaving. I hope you're happy." I didn't reply. Instead, I waited for the truck to drive away, and then I drove straight to the front door. Everything was silent. I unlocked the door and walked into my house again. Everything smelled different. The fake vanilla candles were gone. Her plants, her mugs, her random clutter. All gone. I walked through the rooms in silence. It felt cold, empty, but it also felt right. Then I checked the bedroom. She hadn't taken everything. There was a small plastic container left in the closet, probably forgotten. Inside were old cards, receipts, a shoebox full of photos, and a second USB drive. Out of curiosity, I plugged it in. There were videos. Recordings from the security cameras. Clara must have downloaded them before I cut off her access to Nest. And what I saw next completely flipped the story. In one clip, there was Ruben, in my office, late at night, copying files from my laptop onto a USB drive in his hand. In another, he was walking into the master bedroom with Clara while I was away. They weren't kissing, they weren't touching, but they were whispering. And he handed her something. A key. That night wasn't just a betrayal. It was a plan. I stared at the screen for over an hour. That moment between Clara and Ruben, my wife and her own brother, it burned itself into my mind. I watched it again and again. It wasn't just whispers. It was conspiracy. She took the key from his hand, looked directly into the bedroom camera, and smiled. The worst part? That recording was from 2 weeks before she told me to leave. It all clicked now. They were pushing me out. I'd been their ATM, their free live-in landlord. And as soon as I started asking questions, they decided it would be easier to erase me. I took a deep breath, sat up straight, and looked around. This wasn't going to be a clean divorce. This was a silent war. I sent the new recordings to Mr. Morales. In less than a day, he'd filed an emergency motion with the court. I didn't just have proof of infidelity, I now had proof of what looked like coordinated manipulation and possible theft of private data. Why? Guess what? The USB drive Ruben used contained sensitive files from my clients. Material under NDA. Project proposals. Stuff I wasn't even supposed to keep locally. In the wrong hands, it could have cost me future contracts. I filed a report with the police. Identity theft. Unauthorized access to private documents. Ruben wasn't just messing around in my house. He committed a crime. Meanwhile, I was playing the long game. I contacted Clara's actual boss. Not Sergio, the other one. I sent him the recordings, the messages, the financial transactions that matched up with work trips. A week later, I got a reply. One word. Resolved. She was fired. No severance. Sergio too, apparently. It wasn't just her breaking the rules. He'd also been using company tech for personal file transfers. They called it a serious breach of internal policy. A friend told me they were escorted out, in front of the entire office. Then it was Ruben's turn. A few months back, Ruben had applied for unemployment benefits. Said he was unemployed. Claimed he was living with a relative who was supporting him financially. Well, that was true. And also illegal. Because while he was collecting unemployment, he was also receiving money from Clara's secret transfers. And he had a side hustle, selling studio equipment he'd bought with my money. I found the ads on Facebook Marketplace, under a fake name, which I traced back to his Bizum account. Sent the details to the Ministry of Labor. Within weeks, Ruben was being investigated for fraud. His accounts were frozen. He was ordered to repay everything he'd collected and fined. Total, 11,000 euros. The house was still mine. The judge ruled in my favor. She had no claim to it. No demonstrable contribution. No shared equity. I kept the car, the furniture, everything. She left with whatever she'd packed in that suitcase. Mr. Morales asked me if I wanted to pursue damages as a wrong spouse. I said yes. Not for the money. For the record. We won. She owed me 17,000 euros in legal fees and damages for misuse of shared funds. She didn't have that money. Still doesn't. Now, they garnish part of her paycheck every month. After that, I kept quiet. Went back to work. Paid Mr. Morales. Started therapy. Had to. The lies, the manipulation, the gaslighting, it all left a mark. But I didn't become bitter. I stayed focused. A few months after everything was settled, I got an email from Clara. One sentence, I never thought you'd actually go through with it. I didn't reply. A year later, I heard Ruben moved back in with his father in Seville. His studio shut down when the state pulled his license. He still owes the restitution. Clara, last I heard, she works the front desk at a spa. Minimum wage. No benefits. I drive by that place sometimes. Not to gloat. Just to remind myself how far I've come. I've started dating again. Slowly. Took my time to trust again. Adopted a dog. Repainted the house. Took a trip to the Pyrenees. Something I always wanted to do, but never could while she was around. The bedroom where they plotted against me is now an office. My space. My rules. I don't blame myself anymore. I just remember this. I gave them kindness and they gave me betrayal. I gave them a home and they tried to take mine. But in the end, I was the one who stayed. And they lost it all. And they will never set foot in my house again. Final update, responding to comments. I've been reading your comments. Not all of them, but too many. Some thanked me for sharing, for telling the story that so many live in silence. Others said I was cold, that I overreacted, that I'm a narcissist, a control freak, a coward for not fighting for my marriage. Some asked if I felt powerful leaving a woman homeless or reporting her brother. Someone even wrote, "You're just as manipulative as they are, only quieter." And you know what? I'm not going to justify myself. But I do want you to know what it feels like to be on the other side. I spent years thinking love was compromise, even when it hurt. Thinking that if I just held on a little longer, things would go back to the way they were. That if I did everything right, paid, stayed quiet, endured, it would be enough. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't throw things across the room. I just observed. And that, apparently, is also condemnable to some. But what no one sees, what isn't shown in the recordings or the messages, is what it does to you inside. What it's like to wake up next to someone who looks at you like you're a piece of furniture. What it's like to share a house with people who talk about you like you're not there. What it's like to open your front door and realize you don't belong in your own home. You want to know what really broke me? It wasn't the infidelity, or the scam, or even seeing my name slowly erased from the decisions in my own life. It was the silence. The way everyone acted like I didn't have a right to be upset. Like me feeling hurt was an inconvenience to them. Like the only thing they expected from me was obedience and stability. All I did was leave. Set boundaries. Say enough. Without raising my voice. And for that, you judge me. Okay. So be it. But I sleep well tonight. With my dog. In my house. Without having to pretend I don't see what's destroying me.